Now they're leaking that they may actually be charging Hunter Biden with very minor charges relative to the crimes that he apparently committed. And look, we don't want bad stuff to happen, but they're leaking that couple of minor charges relatively compared to the kind of charges that they could be. And that's up to them. But are they actually going to do the right thing and hold the Bidens accountable, or is this just a charade and an excuse to continue targeting me and our movement of Make America Great Again and America First? I don't know. I think they're doing this for a little reason. I think they want to target us, and they make it look a little bit more fair when they throw out a couple of charges about Hunter. Now, you know what's happening. It's a disgrace what's happening in this country. And it is prosecutorial misconduct. And the people in this country aren't going to take it. Remember this. They've come after me now for 6 years. A friend of mine who's a very successful guy said, you have to be the most honest guy in the world. My son, who runs the company, Eric Trump, he's probably in the history of the world, he's probably the most subpoenaed person from Congress every week, every day, every month, we got to a point where we just stack them up. But there's never been anything like it. It's a disgrace. You know, instead of focusing on our country and focusing on all the problems ahead and focusing on all the potential that we have as a country, all they do is keep investigating the Russia hoax. And it seems to be always turning around, doesn't it, where they created the Russia hoax, and they were the ones that dealt with Russia in order to create the fake document, the fake dossier, and all of the things that they've done, the crimes that they've committed. It's a disgrace. But it's crystal clear that they're coming after me because I fight for you and I fight for America, and they're not used to that because they don't want people fighting for America. And because we are leading big in all the polls and winning all across the country, both against Republicans, which, you know, I'm proud to do, and Democrats, which I'm even more proud to do, but we're winning against everybody. Never before in American history has our country seen such corruption and abuse of power as we are witnessing right now. Right now, the radical left is no longer about socialism. It's not anymore. It's about communism. They've stepped over socialism. They've forgotten about the word socialism, and that's where our country is headed. And I predicted this a long time ago. I saw what was happening. I predicted a lot of things. You ever see the hat? Trump was right about everything. Look what happened with Russia. Should have never happened, what's going on with Ukraine and Russia. If the Democrats win, the communists win. And soon they will send their thugs, their criminals, their angry left-wing prosecutors, and the 87,000 new IRS agents that are allowed to carry guns, by the way. You know, they're all anti-gun, right? But the prosecutors, these agents are allowed to carry. Think of that. They want to stop you from having a gun, but those 87,000 people are allowed to carry guns. They want to walk in and come after you. If Republicans win, the communists lose, the globalists lose, the deep state bureaucrats lose, the Silicon Valley censors lose, the corrupt fake news lose, the media bosses lose, and the rhinos lose. The rhinos are no good. But America wins, and America wins very big.
Madam President, I rise today out of a desire to protect the rights and the health of the young men and women who serve the Senate as pages. I think we can all agree that the Senate wouldn't function well without pages. The very first Senate page was a 9-year-old boy named Grafton Hansen. He was appointed by Daniel Webster in 1829. In those days, the page's jobs were to refill the inkwells and clean out spittoons. Fortunately, things have improved a bit for the pages. The work isn't quite as messy anymore, but it's still a high-pressure job for a high school student. When I was here on the floor voting last week, I noticed that the pages were all wearing masks, but none of my colleagues were. I threatened to come to the floor to seek unanimous consent to end the mask mandate, And the next day, the mandate ended. Coincidence? Perhaps. The new policy states, though, that the mask wearing will become optional for pages who test negative. But once again, we see the masks on the floor. I urge my colleagues to look around. The pages are still wearing masks. The COVID policy for the Senate pages requires the reinstitution of a mask mandate if they've supposedly been exposed. Apparently, there are rules for the pages of the Senate, but not for the President of the Senate, Kamala Harris. When Vice President Harris was deemed potentially exposed to COVID, she not only presided over the Senate's confirmation vote of Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, but was also seen at the White House with the President, the First Lady, and the Justice without a mask. Rules for thee, but not for me. Jen Psaki justified the Vice President's violation of the COVID guidelines by stating that it was an emotional day. I guess if you're feeling like it's an emotional day, then you can do what you please, unless you're a page. The impressive thing about that absurd defense is that Psaki was able to say it with a straight and maskless face. But an unceasing mask mandate is not all that is required of the pages. According to the guidelines, all pages are required to be fully vaccinated if their initial vaccination series was completed at least 5 months ago. The pages are required to obtain a booster shot to participate in the PAGE program. From day one, our country's response to this pandemic has made the comfortable more comfortable, while the working class or kids or people with no power have to keep on working but have to obey rules that the adults don't have for themselves.
For what purposes Mr. Gomez seek recognition?
Strike the last word.
Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you. We were told we want to fix the problems, we would support this bill. The truth is, if we want to fix the problem, we would secure the border. You're creating, with this bill, more of a draw into this country. Bad enough you're talking about ending Title 42, which will add hundreds of thousands of people coming. It'll bring them coming quicker. But now we're told, and it really is analogous to, you're going to make the hole bigger in our boat, and we're going to fix it by having more efficient buckets to bail out the situation. It doesn't work that way. This bill will create even more money for the drug cartels to corrupt the government, corrupt local, state, federal government in Mexico. And now I'm finding out from law enforcement in Texas, they're setting up in Texas. We've heard that there's drug cartel employees all over the country. And the Border Patrolmen over the last several years, they say, they call us the logistics. The drug cartels get people across the border, and then the U.S. government ships them to cities all over the country where the drug cartels want them to work so they can finish paying off the money they agreed to pay in order to come into the country illegally. Those who want to make this a Marxist totalitarian government, and there are plenty of them in this country, they know that first you destroy a knowledge of history, you create some chaos, and then just as Lenin did, couldn't have done it without Trotsky, but they come riding in and say, we're the answer, we will bring about peace, we'll get this under control. But in the chaos, it normally takes a totalitarian, dictatorial, government in order to overcome the chaos that the Marxists created in order to get control. I'm hearing from people all over the world, have been for some time, we see what you're doing and you're making matters worse in your country, and we're getting desperate because all of us see and we know that when you lose your freedom in America, there will be no place left to go. You're the last place we can count on. And we see the world falling apart, and what are we going to do? We're going to process people more quickly. And I heard from a union leader this morning here in D.C., and he was saying about the northern border that not only are we pulling our border patrolmen away from the southern border just to process people full time, now we're bringing them from the northern border, and we have hundreds of miles where there is no one, and our enemies know that, and drug cartels know that, and now it won't be long before the northern border is a big problem. Look, when you don't stop the flood but make the hole bigger, we're going to get to the place where it's irreparable and we're going to lose our country. Keep hearing from Democrats, and I'm quoting, the last administration politicized and dismantled our immigration system. Well, they were securing the border, and they were doing so more effectively than anybody since I've been in Congress. The reason Mexico's not a top economy is the corruption from the drug cartels, and America is complicit, and we're complicit in sending the money to Mexico that is bringing drugs in that are killing tens of thousands of Americans every year. I mean, we're seeing this place fall apart, and you want to condemn us for saying, let's secure the border, and then we can fix the immigration system. That is the clear solution, and I hope you will join us in eventually coming around to securing the border.
Expired.
Yield back.
For what purpose does Mr.